What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? So in my last video, I critiqued these two vegans' video extolling the virtues of almond milk. Except they weren't really doing that, probably because, well, there isn't a lot of virtue there. And if you saw my video, you'd have to agree. So more precisely, what they were really doing is defending almond milk from, as they saw it, an unjust attack from some article in cyberspace. And the video itself really wasn't about that either, if I'm being really precise, because at about this point of the video, roughly a quarter into the video, they basically stop talking about almond milk and they start ragging on cow's milk. Now, I posited the question, do two wrongs make a right? Do they? Moreover, if your intention is to defend almond milk, why do you spend most of your video attacking and debunking the virtues of cow's milk? Why? To me, that sounds like a concession. To me, that seems like they recognize, whether it's conscious or not, they recognize that almond milk doesn't have a lot of virtue, that it's a bullshit processed food product, doesn't even have much in the way of almonds in it. It's just a whole bunch of chemicals, honestly, and water, and some almonds. That's what it is. Sweetened or unsweetened, doesn't matter. That's all that it is. It's an unnatural, processed, food science product. So, because you can't really defend that, they go on the offensive and attack milk. Cow's milk, not nut juice. So, it's a little bit dishonest, wouldn't you say? It's a little bit deceiving. Maybe it's just ignorant. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But it for damn sure is a concession. You never defended the virtues of almond milk. You didn't. You just basically said, oh, well, it's not that bad. Look, milk is worse. Is it? Let's see.
Weird, it's out there.
All the brands provide an unsweetened version. It's not that hard. Water, I mean, of course there's water in it. Added A, E, and D vitamins. As I recall, when I was young, I thought my parents bought fortified
Milk
that has added vitamin D.
I can't believe they're bagging on almond milk manufacturers.
Why does this, well, I don't know, 60-year-old man's voice sound like he's going through puberty again? Low T, perhaps? What about vegan gains? Low T, perhaps? Both of these guys are bigger than average men, and they sound like they're still going through puberty. Anyway. So, yeah, unfortunately, milk in the United States, the majority of it, the stuff that comes from the factory farm, is fortified, right? We talked about that. That's because milk is a life product. And a lot, if not all, the life that's in it, living, gets basically destroyed in the pasteurization process. So they kill all the good stuff, and then they have to fortify it instead of just selling you the raw product. But that's a whole nother story. But just because, well, yeah, okay, milk is fortified and so is nut juice. So how does that make milk worse? Or how is that defending nut juice? It isn't. If you think milk is bad, well then you should, if you're honest, right? These people push this idea that milk is bad. And now they're using bad milk to justify the fact that almond milk it's probably just as bad, at least when it comes to having vitamins added to it, synthetic vitamins, right? How are you defending almond milk? I'm not seeing it.
For fortifying their milks as the bovine milk companies do. That's
Exactly.
stupid.
Yeah, and then their final complaint is using thickening agents like carrageenan.
So
That's
they're-
one of those little scary
They're
hot
trying
button
to
topics,
scare
right?
people. Yeah, because there's some buzz out there in some circles that carrageenan, which is a derivative of seaweed, has some health issues, may cause some inflammation. Nothing definitive yet, but yeah, something maybe to watch out for. So they make it sound like all almond milks must have carrageenan in it.
Not true.
Like-
Nothing definitive. Nothing definitive. The fuck? Right? I mean, okay, fine.
Yeah,
Califia
not true.
Farms it clearly states in their fact none of their products have carrageenan. And then also one of the major manufacturers, Almond Breeze, which Ryan often picks up, no carrageenan.
Unless they call it something else in their ingredients.
Consumerist vegans, right? They're basically a walking, talking commercial for various brands of almond milk.
But yeah, Calafia came out and said for sure none
Yeah.
whatsoever. So you just got to look from brand to brand, just like any other food, any other product. Every
Yeah.
company has different practices.
Just like any other food from any company, because they all have different practices, right? You have to keep that in mind when it comes to vegan foods.
Absolutely. So, debunked. All right, so now's the point in the article when they're going to start making, an appeal to your mothering nature. What does this mean? It means that when you pour a glass of almond milk for your child,
Adults can't drink almond milk, right?
yeah, exactly, in order to provide him or her with essential nutrients for growth and health, you are actually giving them loads of harmful ingredients. The worst.
You are. We went over that, right? That's a fact. At the very least, potentially harmful ingredients, right? That's a fact. Even with your carrageenan-free shit, it still has potentially harmful ingredients in it, right? What's with the denial, guys?
Of which is sugar.
That last sentence there is probably why I insisted we make a video about this. They're complaining about harmful ingredients added into almond milk
Yeah.
compared to what goes on in dairy milk. Are they kidding me?
know.
What? I mean,
know.
let's just go through some of the harmful ingredients in dairy milk. We've got
Okay, if you want to talk about the virtues of almond milk, why are you ragging on milk? Right? They're basically comparing the stuff that they've decided is better. They're comparing it to the stuff that they decided is worse. And they're saying how they're the same. Like, are these people deluded? Are they ideologically possessed? Are they ignorant? Are they stupid? Or are they just deceitful? Like, how do you not get what's going on here?
all the sex hormones, the estrogens that are in American milk because cows are kept pregnant.
Okay, the sex hormones that are in the milk, well, that comes from an external factor, right? Cows getting, I mean, I don't support this type of shit, and I could see why it would be a problem, you know, but this isn't something that occurs in a cow naturally. This is something, you know, they're injected with these hormones. It's not natural.
And perpetually.
Yeah, being linked to all kinds of cancers.
And we have antibiotics, both the legal ones.
Again, that's, you know, that doesn't have to happen. And that's not something that milk is in milk naturally. That's a, you know, that's a problem. These arguments, they're not arguments against milk. They're arguments against the dairy industry and the mistreatment of animals, right? And the unhealthful practices of the dairy industry or the factory farm. That's the, right? Milk in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with milk in and of itself. It's what we do to it that makes it bad, right? But when it comes to vegan foods, this guy could differentiate between different companies, different sources of the food, right? And even though they're all bullshit when it comes to almond milk anyway, It doesn't matter where they come from. They're all bullshit. But why doesn't he differentiate between the factory farm and a small farm or a smaller farm where animals are taken care of, grass-fed, and they're only given antibiotics, when they get sick like us, and they need to be given that stuff to save their life, right? And the milk isn't sold during the time that antibiotic is still in their body, right? There's a withdrawal period where you can't slaughter the animal or you shouldn't drink the animal's milk, right? Farms that follow good practices, they exist. You could get good raw milk that doesn't have any of this bullshit in it. I'm not saying it's easy to get, but it exists. And again, this isn't an argument against milk. This is an argument against dairy industry practices, okay?
That are there in legal quantities and illegal ones that
they're doing to like subvert the testing.
Did you catch the title? Illegal antibiotics could be in your milk, right? It doesn't happen naturally, obviously. It could be in your milk, but maybe it isn't.
So they don't, get called out for
their legal antibiotics. And then there's things that are even way more sinister than that. Like, let's hear Dr. McDougall here.
One of the best kept secrets in dairy foods is the infection with viruses like bovine AIDS virus. It's actually officially bovine immunodeficiency viruses, and also bovine leukemia viruses. It doesn't make a lot of sense to feed your child a tall, cool glass of leukemia viruses.
And they're worried about sugar.
Come.
Okay, first of all, that doctor is a kook. I've listened to some of his interviews. He's very disingenuous. He lies about stuff all the time. Look, yeah, if an animal is sick, you're not supposed to drink the animal's milk. But they're trying to make it seem like, whenever you have a glass of cold milk, you're drinking cow AIDS, basically, and leukemia. These people think that they're so enlightened when they have no clue what they're talking about. Sick animals, you don't use their milk, you idiots. Those are just bad practices. Okay? Milk from healthy animals is healthful, period. Now, just because there are some studies out there, and they're going to go on to talk about that too. Epidemiological, God, that's a difficult word to say. Epidemiological studies that basically correlate in some small number of people, correlate milk consumption with certain types of cancers. That doesn't mean anything. Just because there's a correlation, so what? What else do these people do? Do they smoke? What else do they eat? They also eat vegetables, don't they? That's mostly what they eat, probably. But just because they also drink milk, and then there's a correlation between, they just pick out milk out of the group of, or all the factors, and they correlate it to certain types of cancer. But that doesn't mean that correlation doesn't mean causation, right? There could be a different factor or a group of factors that cause this. But, I think it's conceivable that the type of milk that the dairy industry these days produces could cause cancer because of all the chemicals that are in it unnaturally, right? I could see that. But that's not milk causing cancer. Of course it isn't. That's those chemicals causing cancer. Duh. Right? And this is really how you need to look at this. If you're an open-minded person who could think for themselves and is not ideologically possessed like these two over here. Just look at their bias, how they talk about all these various factors when it comes to vegan foods, but when it comes to milk, for example, there's no nuance there. There's no different kinds of milk. Milk is milk is milk is milk, right? Even though all these various studies they quoted are from different parts of the world and the milk there is different, it doesn't matter. It's all the same, right? But when it comes to almond milk, well, it's all different, even though it's all bullshit. Look, this is how you look at this logically. Let's take cancer or any of these diseases these days. These days. It's a new phenomenon, isn't it? Is milk? Thank you for listening.